Hello, World Wide Web. Welcome to the Hanging with Web show. I'm GW Pomichter, and we are here for Media Day Summer 2020, and we are hanging out in the studio all day long talking to artists, authors, musicians, filmmakers, creative minds of all kinds. We hope that if you're watching us on YouTube, you'll go ahead and hit subscribe. Smash the little bell, as they say, so you can come back over and over again and see some of these fantastic interviews. If you're watching us here on Facebook, awesome. We're glad that you're here. We try to drop one interview episode every single weekday, and then we use our weekends just like this to gather more content, more great content for you, and we're doing it live today. So you can catch the live feed, you can catch the replay, you can catch all kinds. You never have to miss one of these interviews with an up-and-coming just an up-and-coming author, future bestsellers we've got here. We've got future Oscar-winning filmmakers, future Grammy-winning songwriters. They're all here, and they're getting started right here for you. So make sure you tune in. Welcome, please, to the Hanging with Web show set, author Roberta Bombonato, the author of To Guard with Love. Welcome, Roberta.
Hi, thanks for having me. It's been so great.
Thank you so much for being with us today. How are things where you are?
It's pretty rainy today, but my friend is actually hosting me with her internet, and everything is so cool.
That is awesome. That's wonderful. See, that's nice. It's a nice rainy day. She still gets to visit with friends and come on the internet with us. Where are you calling in from?
Gainesville, Florida.
Gainesville, Florida, over in the middle of the state, home of the Gators here in Florida. There you go. So that's right. Awesome. Thank you so much for being with us today. Let's talk about your journey as an author, as a writer a little bit. How long have you been writing? How long have you been writing professionally now, published?
Okay, so the first time I ever published was self-publishing back in 2009, and it's been kind of surreal, just having like characters live in your head and then you have to get their stories out. Like, it's just incredible and therapeutic, and you can really breathe life into them.
There's something amazing about the creative artist journey, because when you start out and you don't realize that you're an author yet, or you don't know that you're a writer yet, you just have these people living in your head telling you a story over and over and over again.
Exactly.
And you have two choices. One of them is medication, and the other one is get a keyboard and start typing. And so but transitioning from that into being an author and being published and having readers pick up your work and tell you what they think of this running dialogue that's happening in your head, it is a very surreal, very special journey in transition. Life is a series of moments in transition between what we are and what we're going to be. When you're
That's beautiful. Yes.
When you're a creative, thank you. When you're a creative artist, we are always in transition, because there's always a new story to be told, always a new character that wants to be introduced. Since your first time publishing to your journey where you are right now, what has been the most rewarding part of that journey for you?
I think the most rewarding part is that redemption is such a big theme in my stories. So I've noticed that people are rooting for, let's say, hitmen or demons or whatever, but they all have redeeming qualities. So redemption is for us all, and that's what my stories are pretty much about.
That's fantastic. And it is when I was learning to write many years ago, when we rode dinosaurs into college. I remember many conversations where we talked about the fact that I was going to school for journalism, and in journalism we focus on fact. Fact is important in journalism if you're doing it right. It's about what's happening now and who it's happening to. As a creative writer, though, my journey was a lot different, because we don't focus on fact, we focus on truth. And these are two very different words. Fact is a very sanitized word. Fact is just what's happening, what the camera would see. Truth is what happens in here, because truth is a very human thing. It's very subjective. And so whether it's the truth of love or the truth of faith or the truth of a hero's journey, as Joseph Campbell would say, um, there's truth. And in redemptive storytelling, there is truth. We are all less than we want to be on a regular basis, and we all want to reach a place where we've reached our potential, where we've made amends for what we've done wrong, and where we, where we again, where we had that moment in transition, where we have become. And redemption is a huge part of that arc, and it's something that your characters and your stories focus heavily on. And there are so many other places that writers focus so much of the time. We spend a lot of time telling love stories, the truth of our love, the truth of how we love and who we love. We spend a lot of time talking about the truth of a hero's journey, a journey from becoming what you are, from where you started to the distance traveled. How far did you travel on that hero's journey? We don't focus a lot of the time on the mistakes we made and how we redeem ourselves. What made you focus in and hone in on that particular truth in your storytelling?
I think that because I live in the gray area of storytelling, like I really believe anybody can be redeemed. So when you focus on the characters drive the story forward. And I have been learning how to, create a bigger world around the characters. But for me, the importance is the people. What are they about? What are they going through? How are they going to react to the stimuli everywhere? And how are they going to feel good about being who they are?
It's such an important part of storytelling, because to build a world, however grand, you could build the Marvel Cinematic Universe, to build a world, however grand it is, in order to make readers connect, in order to make people connect, you have to build a person first, because that's what's going to drive people into your story. Are those characters? Are they believable? Do we empathize with them? Do we sympathize with them? Do we pity them? Do we love them? And when you're focusing on that, I just find it really fascinating that you focus in on the fact that people are flawed. We make mistakes. We all have a proverbial past. You may not be an assassin, but you have a past, and you have something that you're trying to atone for in your life, and that drives us all so much. Whether it's to be a better parent, a better partner, whatever we're doing, we're trying to atone. And it's interesting that you focus so heavily into the character development, and then finding what they're atoning for, finding that redemptive arc inside of them. So we have here, when they do the research, they pull a book, they pull a title, they pull something out of thin air, so that we know what we're talking about. Let's talk a little bit about To Guard with Love. That is the book that she chose for the interview.
Okay.
So let's talk about To Guard with Love. Let's start out with, give us the book blurb. Give us that little paragraph on the back of the book. What can readers look forward to?
Okay, so To Guard with Love is actually the story of a puppy and his woman, his person that he is trying to, help her find herself. So it's told in the dog's perspective, and he helps her see that the relationship that she's in, it's an abusive relationship, and she needs to get out of it. She does. So he also introduces her to the neighbor, which is actually a really good love,
interest. Yeah.
Love interest.
Yeah.
That's right.
That's I love the idea. So much of the time you hear people use colloquial phrases, and what you'll hear is, "Wouldn't you like to be a fly on the wall?" And I love the idea of you taking a story and telling it from, again, the dog's perspective. That you're not a fly on the wall; you're a dog in the room, and you get to see and communicate the things that you see from that perspective. As opposed to being a central character, as opposed to being, what's being watched. because when you write from a kind of the second person perspective, when you write from the perspective of her, that's going to be a very different view of the world. When you or if you wrote from the perspective of the unhealthy relationship or the boyfriend or the husband, that's a different perspective of the world. The villains are all the heroes of their own story,
Right.
and so, but by stepping back a step away from them and looking through the dog's eyes, and I love, one of the things that we do as the more civilized, the more socialized we all become. One of the things that we do is we tend to anthropomorphize our pets. They're little people, and we
They're our
ascribe,
kids. They become
we
our
yeah,
family.
we ascribe traits to our animals, particularly our household pets, based on our needs. What do we need? We need a friend. Do we need a companion? Do we need somebody to keep our feet warm? What do we need? And we ascribe these traits to our pets. I love the idea of turning that on its head a little bit and seeing the world through that pet's eyes,
Right.
and having that help your protagonist through her story, which I think is fantastic. Where did you derive inspiration for the story?
Okay, so when I started writing, I had just gone through a really bad breakup, and it's nothing like what I did in the story. Obviously, like you have to make it more dramatic when you're writing and all that. But my dog chose me, and then I dedicated this book to him as well. Because he talks with his eyes, with his actions, and he really did used to poop in my boyfriend's shoes. I
That's
never
just
told him
funny.
that. It was just
That's just funny.
hilarious that he would.
It's what's really cool about what kind of dog do you have?
It's a black Labrador, and he is 14 this year.
14, a black
Yep.
lab. Wow. Well, congratulations on a long and healthy relationship there, with your black lab. Now, interestingly enough, I love what you said. We add drama to books or whatever. It's interesting because oftentimes after the fact, you can see it as added drama. But when you're writing or you're going through it or you're making notes or you're remembering, it almost seems like you're removing drama sometimes. Because when we're in
Because
the
of all
middle
the
of
feelings,
yeah, when,
yeah.
when we're in the middle of something, when you're feeling a breakup or one that's pending, when you're feeling these things, they seem so much bigger than they turn out to be later.
That's so true.
And so when you're writing, you have to go in, and part of a writer's journey and part of our difficulty sometimes is you have to go in and relive certain moments in your life because you have to remember that feeling and you have to remember that drama. Because if you just wrote about it from your new perspective, you're writing things down and you're like, oh, that doesn't really sound that bad.
I
But
know it's almost like you get to see yourself through your old eyes, and then you have grown into new eyes, and then it's like, well, which lens am I gonna put on today?
yeah,
Like
where how am I going to look at this today? Because I can, and of course, as we get older, those things in our lives, we shift our priorities and we shift things around so much. Again, I think it was a stroke of genius and just brilliant to take that and show that through the eyes of your dog. I think that's an amazing thing because again, um, writing as a fly on the wall is an important storytelling technique to write that third person, bird's eye view, but then to add all of those feelings and those anthropomorphized things that we do to our animals, to add that emotion into it is adding an emotional element to a bird's eye view, which is a critical part of storytelling, and it's very important to connect with your readers. What's coming up next? Have you been working on anything during the pandemic? Are you? I know
yes.
that this is the time for creative artists everywhere because we have nothing else to do except for create the next thing. So, what are you working on?
I'm actually working on a fantasy right now, so it's going to be Greek mythology in modern times, and it's also going to have a different explanation to Pandora's box. So, the muse of comedy, she gets a case of depression, so then her heart literally breaks inside of her, and then the powers that be send her on a quest to put it back together in New York. So it's going to be called
Wow.
Amusin' Manhattan.
That's cool. Very nice. I love it. First of all, I love. I'm a classical classics lover. I love the myths. I love the myths and legends that have made. They are the mothers and fathers of us all in
Right?
storytelling, because this is where our passion for storytelling comes from. But I really love when we're able to contemporize these things,
Me too.
because it's a reimagining of a story that has so much weight and so much pomp and circumstance surrounding it. Sometimes we forget that these storytellers were contemporary storytellers of their era, and because we get so I mean, my favorite are people who love Shakespeare. I love Shakespeare. However, when you do Shakespeare and you perform Shakespeare as this form of gravitas, you lose touch with Shakespeare, because Shakespeare was a contemporary playwright. He was writing the movies of the day. So you almost, if you want to do Shakespeare justice, you have to do Shakespeare by, Coppola, because those are the comparative places. So it's amazing what you've done there to contemporize it, and you've kind of made it some fun. You made it fun for you, and hopefully for your readers. I can't wait to see that when it's out.
I
She's
really wanted to just bring awareness that, it doesn't matter where you are in life. You can get struck with depression. You can get struck with like all these emotions. And it's just about how you deal with it and how you interpret them and how you, I don't know, react to it all. But ultimately, you just got to keep your head up high and keep going forward because it's all just a wave and you will end up back at the beach.
There you go. Oh, I love that. Was a great way to put it. That was a great. We are all folks out there. We are all on a journey. We are all somewhere in life going somewhere else. And most importantly, we're all on a kind of quest. We're all on a quest to get to our next breath, our next moment, our next phase. And so take a look, check that out. Do you have a title picked out yet? Are you still wandering around? Are you
It's
uh,
going to be Amusing Manhattan.
Amusing Manhattan? That's right. She did tell us that already. And you guys let me ask the question anyway. I hate you all. You're fired. No, I can't do that, because then I'd be stuck here on the air by myself and I wouldn't know what to do. So, because these guys are way too important to what we do backstage. So, guys, we have to wrap it up. We've been hanging out with Roberta Bombonato, the author of To Guard with Love and other titles. We're going to drop links in the description on YouTube. We're also going to have them over. I know they're over in the chat already, because the girls have been just working feverishly. So that's happening. Roberto, thank you so much for hanging out with us. We're going to go ahead and thank our partners and friends real quick. Our partners at Famous Faces and Funny, J. Bauer Art for all of the art that's on our set right now, Space Coast Comics, Brevard Film and Talent, and of course Mommy and G Creations. Thank you guys for all you do for the show. Thank you for watching, for tuning in, for logging on. Continue to come back to see who we're hanging with next.